of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we apologize. I take responsibility for the meeting starting 5 minutes late. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
We have roll call. Council members Baker. Here. Galloway.
Here.
Lennon.
Here.
Piana. Here. And Mayor Covey.
Here as well. Thank you. Next item.
Approval of the agenda.
Any changes or requests? If not, a motion to approve. So moved.
Support.
Motion made and seconded. Lennon, Baker. Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, just
all right.
putting them together here. Council members Baker. Yes. Galloway.
Yes.
Lennon.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes.
Mayor Covey.
Yes as well. Unanimous passing. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We have a presentation of the brain injury treatment study.
Chief Schmidt from the Fire Department, please introduce.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of council. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Dr. Russell Ray from Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. He's going to talk a little bit about a new brain injury study that the hospital is participating in.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Russell Ray. I'm from Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak. Here to talk about a research study that's being done nationally that Beaumont is looking to become a part of. It's called the PROTECT 3 trial. It's a study of a new type of therapy called progesterone for treatment of traumatic brain injuries. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on this. What is a traumatic brain injury? It's essentially sudden damage to the brain caused by an outside force, things such as car crashes, falls, something directly hitting the head, things like that. Next slide. Both for the patients themselves who are affected and also as a big public health issue, traumatic brain injuries are a big deal in this country. Approximately 1.5 million head injuries per year in the U.S. It's the leading cause of death and disability among children and adults up to the age of 44. Approximately 52,000 people a year die in this country from traumatic brain injuries, and 5.3 million Americans have disability caused by traumatic brain injuries. Next slide. Some of the things it can do, it can change your ability to think or remember things, alter your balance, coordination, fine motor skills, can keep people from returning to work or functioning normally and independently, limits their awareness and can cause coma. You can have permanent brain damage and sometimes up to and even including death. Next slide. The cost both to the person and to society is significant with these injuries. The average lifetime medical care for different levels are for moderate injuries about $81,000 per year. For a severe traumatic brain injury, approximately $92,700, and severe, approximately $324,400. The lifetime cost for a survivor of a severe traumatic brain injury can be approximately $4 million. And the U.S. spends about $60 billion a year in care of these patients. Next slide, please. So what is being done to treat patients with traumatic brain injuries? Even though we've demonstrated this is a huge problem, unfortunately studies over the past 30 years looking for new kinds of therapy for them essentially have come up with no good new therapies. Essentially what we do is treat the patients, keep their blood pressures appropriate, keep their oxygen levels up, try to prevent any infections from coming on, things like that. So, in the past 30 years, several things have been studied, medications, hypothermia, like cooling, things like that, and nothing's really been found to be helpful in treating these injuries. Next slide. So some of the current research and what we're looking for here in this study is there are some animal studies that show some promise that giving progesterone, which is a hormone normally found in our bodies soon after traumatic brain injuries, might help reduce some of the swelling and decrease the amount of damage that's done. 2 studies have been done, one in human subjects, one in China and one in Atlanta, Georgia. They both suggest that there might be decreased amount of brain damage from traumatic injury with giving this medication, and no adverse effects were found. Next slide. So that's what brings us to the PROTECT 3 trial. This is going to be a national multi-center trial looking at whether or not giving progesterone shortly after traumatic brain injuries is safe and whether it works to decrease the damage from a traumatic brain injury. Next slide. So who's going to be involved? People under 18 years of age, over 18 years of age will be involved with a closed head injury and moderate to severe. We're not talking about just hitting your head on, on a soccer ball hitting your head or bumping your head on something. These are severe brain injuries where the patient's extremely, their mental status is very altered. And the patient has to meet a 4-hour window after the injury in order to get this medication. Next slide, please. People who will not be included include children, people who have an allergy to eggs because part of the preparation for the drug has an egg-based product in it, women with known or suspected breast cancer or other cancers of the female organs, pregnant patients, or those who are prisoners or in police custody. Next slide, please. So how will this study work? Essentially, people who meet the criteria and provide consent, and I'll get to that part of it in a moment, will be randomly assigned to either receive the drug in an IV mixture or a placebo, which is basically not the drug, in a similar IV mixture, so that the people taking care of the patient and the patient themselves won't know whether or not they're in the progesterone group or not. Everybody in the study group will be treated exactly the same with the standard of care for brain injuries. Next slide, please. The study, essentially the patients will receive the medication for 4 days. We'll be following them for up to 5 months with a call every month to see how they're doing. And then at 6 months, we're going to ask that the patients come back for a series of paper and pencil tests to see what kind of recovery of function they've gotten. Next slide, please. The possible risks of giving progesterone, that it might increase the risk of blood clots in the body, may have an adverse effect on the liver, may increase the risk of infection. There's a chance of bruising, swelling, redness, or infection at the IV site, and there could be other risks that we are unaware of at this time. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits are that because we don't have any current good treatments for this, the person in the study themselves could benefit from getting the treatment, and if it's found that progesterone actually does have a benefit in these patients, future patients with this type of injury could also learn or could also be benefited from the study. Next slide, please. So the trick with this study, and the reason I'm here tonight and talking about it, is the people that are going to be involved in this study in most cases aren't going to be alert enough or have the mental capacity to provide informed consent or understand the risks and benefits of the study. The other caveat to this is that animal studies have shown that giving the medication sooner helps, and so after 4 hours, there's kind of a diminishing return. So we're trying to get the medication quickly to people who may not be able to provide consent. So to study something like this, there are some federal guidelines called Exception to Informed Consent that I'm going to talk about next. Next slide. In this trial, because they have to be treated so quickly, the medication needs to be given within 4 hours of the injury. Since the person themselves can't give the consent to the trial, we're going to be trying to locate a legally authorized representative, family members essentially, to try to get consent for the study. So for the 1 hour after arrival, we're going to do every effort that we can to try to contact a next of kin to discuss the risks and benefits of the study and see whether or not the patient can be enrolled. If they say no, it's just like with any other study, the patient will not be enrolled in the study. Unfortunately, if we can't find somebody within 1 hour of the study, this is where we're kind of at a sticking point. We have a medication that might help, and we need to give it quickly. So in this study, what we're going to be doing is, after 1 hour, if we're unable to find a legal representative, the patient will be enrolled in the study. Once we then find a family member or the patient becomes mentally capable of making their decisions themselves, if they choose to be out of the study, we'll remove them and the medication will be stopped immediately. Next slide, please. So what kind of studies can be done under this this type of guideline? Well, it's basically if people are if their life is at risk, treatments we have we know don't work. It might help the patient, and it's not possible to get permission. These are the guidelines that have to be met in order to use this EFIC. Next slide, please. There are other rules involved in this. You have to let the community know ahead of time, and that's the purpose of me being here tonight and other meetings we've been doing with other groups around the area. Once the study is approved, we must make everybody aware that the study is starting. During the study, experts both within our facility and nationally will be watching the data. If it becomes apparent that the drug is either significantly helping or hurting people, the trial will be stopped. And then once the study's done, we'll try to get the results to the public. Next slide, please. So if you do not want to be in the study, there are a couple ways you can go about this. The website for the trial, it's www.protectiii.com, has a spot where you can sign up for a national registry to be declined from the study. That is to say that if we try to enter you into the study, it'll be in this database. We won't enter you if you've already signed up for this. Alternatively, we can provide you with a bracelet that can be worn at all times. The study may last up to 4 years. But if you're interested in getting that, you can contact us or go to the website, which has information. Next slide, please. This is just a general idea of the size of the study and where it's being done. There are 17 sites around the country. Beaumont's going to be involved. Henry Ford Hospital is going to be involved, and Wayne State DMC are going to be involved as well in this area. Next slide, please. So, since we haven't gotten approval for this study yet, and part of this, part of me being here is to answer any questions that people have, get some ideas from members of the community, whether they think this is a good idea, whether this is something we should go ahead with, and then our research review board at Beaumont is going to go ahead and, based on information we've gathered, make a decision as to whether or not this is something that should be done in our community. So, next slide, please. Again, thank you for your time, and there's the website and email addresses of key personnel at Beaumont that you can contact at any time with any questions.
Thank you. You're Dr. Ray?
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. For me, I think this is a great study. It's a great project, and I'm appreciative that you not only came to share it with us, but that you're engaged in this. Does anyone at the table want to share any thoughts? They're actually looking for input to see if the community likes this idea.
How many closed head injuries does Beaumont see a year that might be become a part of this study?
Our estimate was about 100 a year. That is kind of an all-comers type of situation. That's not, we get patients transferred from other area hospitals, so we're kind of obviously a referral center. Some of those patients aren't going to fall within the 4-hour window of getting them the medication. But our estimate for the severity of injury we're talking about is about 100 a year.
And the drug that you're talking about administering is something that's naturally produced by the body following a closed head injury?
It's a hormone that's found in the body. It's mainly known as part of the female reproductive system, but everybody has amounts in their brain as well. And it was found through some of these animal studies that, why are female rats or pregnant female rats not having quite as much damage from injuries? And then from there, the studies followed to say that it might be related to the progesterone decreasing the amount of swelling and the amount of damage. So.
Great. In my work doing HIV/AIDS work, we've participated in research studies, and I understand the importance of consent. And again, we appreciate this. He's looking to see if there are any objections from a community-type group, and I don't think there are any. So I think you have the full support of this body in the research that you're doing, and we appreciate you coming tonight.
Right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Absolutely. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
We have a presentation from our Downtown Development Authority.
Yes, we do. And I see Chris Hughes is here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and everybody that's viewing. I'm here from the DDA. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager, and I'm here tonight with the good news. And there is a lot of good news for us to be reporting in downtown Ferndale these days, and I thought you might want to hear it. Click. Next slide. Downtown Ferndale is the place for business. We found that in the first quarter of 2010. As we go to the next slide, you'll see that we have 7 new businesses that have already opened, 4 that are soon to open, and 2 that have moved or are moving to bigger locations. There's also a couple more out there, and outside of the DDA district, there's several other businesses that have already opened, but I don't know about all of those. If we go to the next slide, we'll see that the 7 new businesses that are now open are Rockin' Soul, a fashion boutique, The Polished Look, which is a beauty salon, Queen's Dreams, large-size ladies and men's fashions, Revolution Signs and Designs, you can guess what that is, Farkas Chiropractic, that too, Designer Resale Boutique, which is recycled fashions, and the Green Thumb Garden Center, which are indoor garden specialists, and those last 2 will have their ribbon cutting on Saturday. The Chamber of Commerce will handle that. Next one is for the 4 businesses that are scheduled to open soon are No Pins Required, which is going to be baby diapers and accessories, Petite Fleur and Q Photographic, which is floral and event specialists, Diablos, which we're all waiting for, that Tex-Mex cantina, and the Downtown Ferndale Bike Shop, bicycle sales and service. So those are all on schedule to open very soon. And then we also have 2 businesses in transition. Salon Ray just moved from Woodward into the Lawson 9 building. And Dye Hair Salon is moving into bigger headquarters at what was formerly Record Time. So we're doing real good in getting new businesses to downtown Ferndale. Now, I don't want to be totally painting a Pollyanna picture, so we have 2 that are going to be leaving us. Rainbow is gone, and New to You Music is officially up for lease, but those just present opportunities to get in more cool businesses.
Rainbow is what? The dress
The
shop?
Rainbow's shop. It's right next on the pedestrian alley next to the former Old Navy, which also is not filled. But
No more $7 dresses?
not at that store.
All right.
All right. So I want to introduce here, because all this good news is partly due in part to the dedicated group of, if you want to go to the next slide, the Business Development Committee of the DDA. And Rick is the chairman of that, and Rick has just got a couple of things to say. He is from Barrett Jim Morrison, that's where he works, but he probably knows every piece of property in town. So this is Rick Axe of the Business Development Committee.
Hi, how you doing? Basically, I just want to say that we have a lot of activity in Ferndale. We have about 65 listings throughout southeast Michigan. A lot of them are in South Oakland County, but out of all the cities, Ferndale is our most active city. And when I tour with people, I really tell them about the support of the DDA and the Chamber, and they really like that localism. And so, I mean, today I was touring with someone from Lake Orion. They didn't know anything about Ferndale other than the reputation. And then, and Farmington Hills last week. So it's a go-to organization, the DDA, along with the Chamber.
Thanks, Mr. Axe.
And I only paid him a few dollars to say that. Next slide. We're not done yet. So one of the reasons that another part of our success story is that we work very hard at retaining the businesses that we already have. One of the ways we do that is through FernNet, which is a local business networking opportunity. Next slide, please. The chairperson of that is Stephanie Smith of Huntington Bank, and we meet the last Wednesday of every month. It's an hour in and out, 9 to 10 a.m., different topic to help your business, and you share ideas with your downtown neighbors. Next slide. I want everybody to remember this. The dates to know is March 31st. We're going to build relationships, and that's going to be held at Blooms by JR Designs. Those are just the final Wednesdays of those months, and we will have interesting topics for all that. All this extra information is also on our Downtown Ferndale website. Next slide, please. The next thing that we are really excited about launching and introducing is reaching out to embrace the entrepreneurs that are out there that we know like to come to Ferndale, and we have now put together an organization to really bring them together and get them all in the same room and let them know that we will do whatever we can to help them ignite their business in downtown Ferndale. This initiative is being headed up by volunteer Joe Venuto, and he has, next slide please, organized a couple of neat sites for us. The first one is going to be Tuesday, March 30th at Rosie's. The second on Monday, April 26th at the WAB, and the third will be at Buffalo Wild Wings. So once again, people can visit our website to find out what's going on there. Next slide, please. We also have coming up, and I'm just going to plug this while we have an opportunity, we're going to have a repeat of Ferndale First, which is 3 great entities coming together, the city, the Ferndale Area Chamber of Commerce, and downtown Ferndale. And it's an opportunity for businesses to get in the same room, to find out what kind of great resources are out there from us, from the chamber, from the city, from the county. There's lots of things out there to make business a success, and that's what we're all about. So last year we had a lot of great businesses that participated and gained valuable information from that. Next slide, please. So now that we know that Ferndale is on the map and everybody wants to come here, we are now going to, next slide please, make Ferndale the ruler of the world. And we are working with the WA3 and Lunatech Designs, and if you want to go to the next slide, please. And 3D Ferndale will soon be a reality and a boost for all of our downtown Ferndale businesses. We are working with Lunatech, as Doug Willett is here from Lunatech. This is a program to really position us on Google Earth. Somebody can fly into town and get a 3D glimpse. That happens to be Hodges Subaru. They did the whole spin around tour on that. So people can see where they're coming. The businesses can showcase what they've got. It moves us up on search engines. It just puts all of our businesses ahead of everybody else. And we are really excited about that. And Doug, when's that going to be all ready? Next week. So go to the last slide. And this is just the beginning. That's 9 Mile with no traffic. But 3dferndale.com. So that's our report. We wanted to share the good news with all of you and everybody at home to let you know that downtown Ferndale is alive and well, and we are moving forward, and businesses want to come here, and we are happy to have them.
How about a round of applause for all that treatment?
Thank you.
Well, and so when are we going to see Diablo's open up? I wish the owner were here. If Brian Kramer were here, maybe he could tell us.
I bet he could. He's here, man.
Marcia? Soon? April? Soon. We'll go with soon. Thank you. Madam Clerk, sorry for that interruption.
We have a presentation by the U.S. Census Bureau.
Yes, we do. I mailed mine in last week.
Me too.
Even though it said Detroit.
Good evening. I am pleased to introduce Terry Hood Campion. She is with the United States Census, and she is here tonight to discuss the census and concerns that residents have about the current mailing. And she also brought a mug for everybody in the audience.
Oh, how nice. Thank you.
We're technically not in the audience, are we?
Thank you, Mayor Covey and members of council and residents this evening. I'm pleased to come out this evening to address you about what is going on with the Census Bureau as millions of census questionnaires have been sent to all the addresses across the nation. More importantly, I want to focus on Ferndale. Marcia Shear has been the liaison for the Census Bureau. We've worked very well in partnering so we can bring the awareness and all the concerns that residents will have about the upcoming census and what to do now that they've received the questionnaire. However, before I get into that, I do want to say with much delight that I was at the Ferndale Blues Festival as a special invitation from Mayor Covey, and if you were one of the lucky recipients to receive one of the Ferndale balls, this happens to be the last one I have from the Partnership Support Program that Marcia wrote a grant to have for all the residents. It was a very, very engaging, very nice event that the city put on, and hosting the census was very, very important. A couple of things that I do want to mention before I get into what has occurred with the mailing is the projection of the residents for this 10-year count. So I want to start out by giving you some numbers and putting some dollars associated with that. So to give everybody an idea of how important getting an accurate count for Ferndale is, because everyone knows this is a constitutional mandate, number one. We count our population for two important reasons: representation, how many seats we will occupy in Washington, and obviously with the things going on in Washington, we need as many voices on behalf of our state as possible. The second important reason we count is for federal funding. And if I look at the census population from 1990 for the city of Ferndale, it was 25,084 residents. 2000, you came in at 22,105. The projection for the community for the at 2008 numbers that were published July of 09 is 21,112. So that's approximately 993 people less in this 10-year period. But we can't speculate that that will be a problem this decennial if everybody fills out that questionnaire and mails it back. We may come in higher than 22,105, which was the 2000 census. So that brings me here tonight as to what occurred on the address label that came to your homes that said the city of Detroit and the incorrect zip code. Not what you expected, not what you're used to seeing, because you do not live in Detroit. You live in the city of Ferndale. And I want to share with you that you are not the only community that experienced this. So I'm running all around town, having presentations with the community, with the councils, because this is a concern that your count will not be reported anywhere else but here in the city of Ferndale, which will be your allocation of dollars that will come back, that will make sure that your district is covered in representation in Washington. The barcode on the envelope holds the GPS, the ground positioning satellite information that places your housing unit where it is, here in the city of Ferndale. So all fears aside, continue to receive those questionnaires, fill them out, and mail them back in. Make sure you list everybody living in the house, be as complete and concise as possible. The reason we want you to do this is that it will not cause someone to come to your home and knock on the door to interview you to get that information. So if you do not want anyone coming to your home, I highly encourage you to please fill it out and mail it back and be counted here in the city of Ferndale. Let's see, one other thing that I want to mention, that all the residents, including myself, and I brought my postcard from Dr. Groves, our census director, that everyone received a postcard reminding them of how important it is to fill it out. I mean, we are all over the media right now. There's all kinds of events that are still occurring. So, again, if there aren't any questions from council, I just want to put aside any fears with any resident here in Ferndale that the questionnaires that will be filled out, sent back here from Ferndale, will be for the count, the actual count that will be published after the first of the year of 2011 to all the residents here in Ferndale. So with that, are there any questions that I can address?
Well, let me just ask a question for the people of Ferndale who did notice that their census had as their address Detroit. It's been a bone of contention for residents here for many decades, and that is something to do with the zip codes and such. But we are our own city. We are in Oakland County. And how did was it just a government goof in terms of, and we know that the Grosse Points, the same thing happened. Some of the Grosse Points, the address said Detroit.
Yes, East Detroit, or East Point was sent to East Detroit. And yes, it's very devastating, and I totally understand. These are all of people in my territory that I've had to. City of Utica, Shelby Township residents in Macomb County, same situation. But again, I went to the, to supervisor and council there to assure the residents, again, this was not a mistake. This was a efficiency cost-saving measure that would streamline, I know it's hard to believe, because the Bureau has been getting a lot of flack about spending, that would streamline how the forms are sorted and delivered by the U.S. Postal Service. So, however, it will not affect which city, town, or block your household responses will be assigned to.
Okay, we understand.
Okay,
we support it, and we all want everyone, I've already filled mine out and sent it in, and
thank you.
we support it totally. Just wondered how that, so it was a cost-saving measure.
Yeah, now, another thing too, just one more thing. On your city website, you have tools that have been placed. Even residents can go out, put in their zip code to see how the mailback response rate is going. In 2000, Ferndale had an 80% response rate. So I'm hoping that this decennial that we can increase that number, because again, it's all for Oakland County, it's all for the state of Michigan, for the region. So fill it out, mail it back in the privacy of your homes, because it is in your hands. So
Thank you, Mr.
great,
Campion.
thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Your Honor, we have a public hearing on liquor license renewals that are currently in default.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And the good news is, and it's the first time in my 11 years up here, is that I believe all the liquor license renewals are able to go through. There are currently none now in default, that the remaining 3 that had owed some amounts of money have paid those amounts of money.
That's right, Your Honor. At the time that the staff presented the list back in February, there was numerous issues. When the agenda was distributed, we were down to 3, and the last one of those 3 got in under the wire before 5 o'clock, had paid their tax bill up at Oakland County, and at this point, we have no reason to object to the renewal of any of those licenses.
Then to the city attorney, do we need to hold this public hearing, or?
You do not need to hold the public hearing. However, certainly if there's any residents that have issues relative to those 3 particular establishments, they could identify it, and if they did have issues they wanted to bring to council's attention, then you could have the public hearing.
Very good. This is why we keep you around, Mr. Christ. Thank you. We will briefly open a public hearing then with regards to the 3 license holders listed on our agenda: Eden Nightclub, 9 Nightclub, and Nami Sushi. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on those on that topic or those locations? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. No action is required, and move on, Madam Clerk.
Okay, give me 1 second to catch up with you. You did
okay.
that so quickly.
Well, you know, the next item is call to audience, and that is the section of the meeting which is a half-hour long. It is now 5 after 8, so we'll go at no longer than 25 until 9. Folks get to speak on any issue that they wish. The only rules are that you keep it to 3 minutes or less. You share your name and address, and the item to be discussed is not on the agenda, and that you do not impugn the integrity or engage in any personal attacks on anyone at all. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Covey, Mayor Pro Tem Kate Baker, Councilman Lennon, and the entire panel. I am Jennifer Shimura, 459 East Maplehurst. It is my great pleasure to stand before you on behalf of the Ferndale Lodge 1588 and personally thank you for all of your support with the Welcome Home celebration for Wings Support Group 47 with the Marines. That was held on March 12th, 2010. It was a phenomenal evening. I know Mayor Pro Tem Kate and Councilman Lennon were there, and I think you'll all agree that we had a great time. The Marines certainly had a wonderful time. If you'll allow me a few minutes to also publicly thank some of the other members in the community who were very instrumental in making this evening such a success. Special thanks go out to the Ferndale Police and the Honor Guard, Ferndale Firefighters, Ferndale DPW, the Boy and Girl Scouts and the Cub Scouts, and they all made us very proud. We have Frank Flores and the American Legion Post 330, also of Ferndale. And if any of you were there and partook in some of the food that we had, Buffalo Wild Wings, Como's Pizza, Danny's Irish Pub, Cambo Coney Island, Howe's Bayou, Luxury Lanes, It was great. Tony's Sports Bar, they all provided these delicious foods for us, and it was truly a community event, one that I'm very proud to have been a part of. I thank you again, and God bless you all.
Thank you for hosting that. Very nice.
Your work, Jennifer.
Okay, on behalf of the American Legion too, we like to thank you for participating. We also got involved on that activity that evening. And to recap was that we presented each Marine that were there, and I believe there was 15 of them, and we had about 30 of these small medallions. And on these, this is the front half and the back half, and each one got one. And then the inscription on the back of it, it says, "In appreciation of your military service and sacrifice, we thank you." This is from your fellow veteran of the American Legion. So each one got one. We were hoping Senator Levin was there in time, but he was a little late, but he got there. And I did present him one of those. He wanted one just for a collection on what happened that evening. So we gave him one, and I also gave the Lieutenant Colonel a handful because not all the Marines made it that evening. But like I said, we were all proud to have this, and we were proud to be part of that activity. And being a fellow vet, I thank them too for them to come back all safe and sound. So thank you again.
Thanks. Good job, Frank. Go ahead. Let's give them a hand.
Good evening, Mayor Covey, members of council. My name is Daniel Moyer. I'm with the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission, and I'm here to offer March's Green Tip. Having recently become a new parent, I wanted to offer one suggestion to those with babies and small children, and that would be the use of cloth diapers opposed to disposable diapers. The average child will use 6,000 diapers before they are potty trained, and petroleum-based diapers will take 200 years or more to decompose. The longevity of disposable diapers hanging around our earth is obviously a concern. So too is human waste being deposited where it does not belong. If you factor in that there are 49 million disposable diapers thrown away each day, the need for responsible diapering is very evident. Opting for cloth diapers is not only an environmental friendly family practice, but it also saves families much money. The cost is estimated at only $250 to $400 for those families that use cloth diapers over the duration of their child's diapering years, compared to that of $1,500 to $2,000 for the use of disposable diapers. Whether you wash your own diapers or use a diaper service, the ecological footprint is significantly less than disposable diapers. Just make sure that you use biodegradable laundry soap, of course, and air dry whenever possible. Not only are cloth diapers a responsible environmental choice, they're a great way to save cash, and they tend to be much more gentle on your new addition or your young child. Finally, if you're interested in cloth diapers, there's a Ferndale-based business that was mentioned earlier this evening by the name of No Pins Required, and they have a website that is nopinsrequired.com. I thank you for your time this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of council, staff. My name is Joe Sullivan. I live at 564 West Woodland. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Ferndale and served on the Ferndale Police Department. From 91 through 96, I served as the chief of that organization. I wouldn't miss the opportunity to come tonight, since yesterday was talked about throughout the nation and boasted about a historical event where we're providing health care for our nation's people, the uninsured. What's interesting is a course of events have taken place starting September 1st, where health care has been reduced to the police officers retired in the city of Ferndale. And as you're aware, Your Honor, you and I have been dialoguing about, and I appreciate your response while on vacation. And I'm not going to go into Mr. Bruner and make argument for a counterpoint this evening. I think there'd be a place for that because I've got 25 or 30 additional ex-employees in the city that want to approach that. But I want to put it before council because I don't know whether you're really aware of what's happened. In the mid-1990s, I represented the police department and the city manager was retiring. So I was representing what they call the golden parachute of the buyout to increase the cash flow for a stressed city. We have a stressed city again. And I understand the stress is put upon the city manager, mayor, and council about allocating resources. But it's also a test of values, honor, and ethics. And to turn to a group of people, some of which both members of the family have cancer or other disabilities, and to take away health care. Now, we'll argue that point, exactly the definition. The city manager has made it clear, and I'm sure you've got a copy of the letter. It was done. The issue is that I think it's not proper. I think it was untoward. I don't think it stands the smell test in terms of the real definition of what they were promised. Now, again, here we are in 2010, and you're going to increase cash flow and reduce costs by offering early buyouts. And what you're going to tell the people, if they leave now, they'll be able to protect their health care. That's what they were told in 94, 95, and 96. Again, but the assumptions have been changed. And we don't have a voice. We don't have a union. We don't have a voting member on the pension board. We rely upon the mayor representing us as well as the other members. And when I started this thing, and I asked very, very succinct questions, Mayor, about what was done by who, when, where, and how, I got very, very, very vague answers about investigations and all that, when we know there was a deliberate choice and action by members of this government. That is not the behavior of this mayor and council, nor its leadership in terms of its department heads in my 29 years' experience. I'm not going to berate it. I bring it before you and suggest what you've done for $19,000 is taken health care, reduced health care, to some people that are living below the poverty level on Ferndale Police pensions. Now take that home and consider what you've done. There's some members of the families have 2 individuals that are being treated for cancer. And they've just been told that, you know what, without any input, opportunity to put their input or debate the issue, that their coverage has been reduced. I'm sorry, that's not the mayor and council I work for. So I put it to you to make your judgment, to investigate and evaluate. And it's all going to go to the definition of exactly what the language meant, coverage versus policy number, what those policies were in the mid-90s versus what they are today. And again, I don't want to arm wrestle or foil with Mr. Bruner. He's trying to do his job. I understand that. But I do tell you, I think it's wrong, and I'm asking you to remediate and fix this problem.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. We'll allow people to keep speaking, and then maybe we can address some of that during our call, Mr. Bruner. Yes.
Hi, my name is Chris Rowan. I live at 321 East Camborne. A lot of people have been supporting the police and fire lately. I just wanted to express my support for the police and fire, and also for the recreation department. I signed my son up for the Easter egg hunt that the recreation department is doing this weekend, and I'm glad we have the recreation department for things like that. We're looking forward to that this weekend. A couple of other things. While I was walking around town, I noticed there are an awful lot of cigarette butts laying around the bus stops. And I don't know if this is something that the DDA can address. I know that funding for something like an ashtray by the bus stops is very low on the totem pole, but just walking by all of the cigarette butts at the bus stops was a little disconcerting for us. And, you know, we see it around, and we just thought, hey, you know, they could just put one of those stick ashtrays right next to the bus stop, tie it to the pole or whatever, and might remedy some of the problem. Another thing I've noticed is that the street signs along Hilton have been replaced in the last year, and they're very poorly designed. They're hard to read. The letters are squished together based on the length of the street name. I don't know who approved the designs for those street signs, but they're very poorly designed. And I don't know if you're planning on replacing all of the signs in the city with those, but it would not be the best option, I think, for replacement of the street signs in the city. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Covey, City Council. My name is Dennis Hepner. I live at 760 Florida. It doesn't make ambulance runs or put out house fires. It doesn't chase down speeders or lock up the bad guys. What the Schulich Center does is just as important. It serves the physical and mental health from the smallest tots to the oldest seniors. The Meals on Wheels program alone serves 10,000 meals a year to the homeless. 544 tots visit our Kids Corner. There are 209 senior group members. For some of these people, the only time they get out of their house is to come to the Schulich Center. The center has 120 teen members and growing. So I ask this council, do not close the Schulich Community Center. Use a balanced approach to opinion budget reductions. All departments should share the burden of budget reductions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Council. It's Trevor Johnson, 1687 West Hazelhurst. Hi. I just wanted to get into your ears again, and those listening at home, that we still have 10 shares left for the CSA we have for the Royal Oak Community Farm. Those shares are $235, $615, excuse me, if you're buying a share for a family of 4, and $335 if you're buying for a family of 2. And you can go on our website, www.royaloakcommunityfarm.com, and get the information there. And we're having an event here coming up April 17th at the Royal Oak Farmers Market, 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., $5 admission. It is the Let Us Rock fundraiser, and we are going to have bands such as the Candy Band, the Royal Oak Children's Choir, the Polish Muslims, Bob Maverick, Jennifer Westwood, the Wednesdays, and Satin Peaches, and a bunch of food there. It's going to be a really good time. Again, April 17th at the Royal Oak Farmers Market, $5, 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., live entertainment, food, beer, wine, kids' activities.
What's the purpose?
It's a fundraiser for the farm. Okay. Again, all of the profits that come from this farm go to a donation to the Royal Oak Educational Foundation, which is a place where Royal Oak teachers can write grants to if they have programming funding needs above and beyond what's already there in the budget.
Very good.
Okay, we hope to see you all there, April 17th.
Let us rock.
Let us rock.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Cheers. And there are flyers in the back.
Hi. Jeff and Gretchen Benson, 655 West Woodland. We just wanted to come tonight and show our support for the police force and the fire department and show that we oppose any reduction to those departments. We've been on our block 10-plus years and have had no incidents of crime until the last few months, the most recent being a home invasion of our next-door neighbors last night, and their daughter was face-to-face with an intruder. This just reinforces the need for the force that we have. We are going to lose our residents if people don't feel safe in their own homes. I think it's very important that we come up with another plan and not reduce these departments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Dawn Pazinski. My address is in the back. I am also here to voice my support for the fire and police in the city of Ferndale. You're not going to find finer men or women or departments anywhere. Don't care where you go. I also want to say that I feel it's the job of my government, my city government, to provide police and fire departments and shouldn't be handled by a special millage. That should be the #1 priority, is to keep your citizens safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Basinski.
Glenn Peary, 314 Kensington, and we've spoken before on this topic of the police and the fire department. Since the last time we spoke, they picked up somebody else breaking into houses in my neighborhood. And it was through the good work of Lemke and a couple of the other officers. We need to keep them around. You know that. I know that. There are other solutions than slash and burn. You know that. I know that. So looking forward to the discussions that are coming up. Let's keep it public. Let's keep it really public, okay? No funny business behind the closed doors.
Guaranteed.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see anyone else coming up for call to audience. Just by coincidence, we had a meeting earlier tonight where the council learned further about the Freedom of Information Act and keeping track of emails and not violating Open Meetings Act. So this is an open book, open story. Thank you for that, by the way. Since we still have a few more minutes, Mr. Brunner, there was some issues that I think probably should be addressed briefly now, and that was at least one statement that we have cut or have canceled health insurance for some of our retirees. Have we yanked or canceled any retirees' health insurance?
The council hasn't done anything specifically. The city manager made some changes in retiree health care back in September. This was part of an audit of the health care benefits that the city provides to retirees. We found that the city was providing better benefits than what those retirees were entitled to under their collective bargaining agreements or council resolutions. The retirees were notified that with a letter last week, and if there are folks who take, specific issue with the city's interpretation of those collective bargaining agreements or council resolutions, then I'd certainly be happy to discuss those issues with those retirees.
Sure. Now, Mike wants to speak, but there was a statement made that these folks have no they have nowhere to go, they have no one to represent them. But are they not promised or guaranteed these benefits through collective bargaining? And
well, depending on whether or not the employee was a non-union employee or a union employee, there are council resolutions and collective bargaining agreements that provide for those retirement benefits. The recourse would be to contact me, to contact my office with these issues. Several retirees have, at this point, contacted me, and they've all received a response from my office. If my response is not satisfactory, then they should contact me with the specific information that they think I should.
From what I read, it looked like retirees had actually been getting more benefits and additional benefits than they were even expected or entitled to, and that in truth the city could go back and actually try to collect, but instead we're not trying to collect or go back and remove any of the benefits, but are simply making sure that people got what they were supposed to get and what they deserved. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. And everyone who has retired with health benefits still has health insurance, still has health benefits.
And no one's health care benefits have been canceled or terminated.
Looked to me like everyone gets either a 90-10 or an 80-20 program.
Well, yeah, without getting into the specifics of what that means.
Okay. Mr. Councilman.
Well, obviously this affects me adversely too, so I'll be real sensitive where I go, where I say, because you haven't heard the last of the retirees. I can tell you that right now. They are banding together. When we left, in various different years, we left with the agreement, a signed agreement, and we left with the health care that we had. Okay? Matter of interpretation of what you decided and what you and the finance department decided, we'll get to that eventually. However, what I don't like is last Monday, you explained to Captain Collins everything that transpired with health care. On Wednesday, I asked you what's going on. You said, I'm still looking into it. I got the full story from Captain Collins, not from you. You work for council. I asked you what's going on. You didn't tell me anything. You said you sent everybody a letter last week. You're correct. You did. But these went into effect a month ago. I had calls from guys who were getting bills for MRIs 2 months ago. So it was a little late on the letter. You can imagine, I mean, these are some gravely ill people out there. I mean, and if I told you what their pensions are, you'd be surprised. So I want to throw my 2 cents in. Obviously, I'm going to have to abstain on some voting issues if this gets down to it, but I'm not real happy. This wasn't open and honest government.
Well, if this wasn't rolled out or launched in a way that folks appreciate, then I apologize for that. You're incorrect, though, sir. You and I talked about this issue before I talked to Captain Collins
Right,
about
and you told me the same thing you told me last Wednesday. I'm looking into it.
Well, in any event, I talked to you about it before I talked to Captain Collins about it. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you about it at your earliest.
Well, we already talked about that. We are going to talk this week. We are discussing today.
Well, again, gentlemen, I appreciate, I just thought we should at least address it since it was addressed in an assertive way with the television cameras. In the meantime, the city manager is very aware that some folks are not happy. We will get more information from him if he can, besides the one-page explanation, perhaps you and Jay Marie could provide some background. And certainly we always stand by, I think because I was mentioned as mayor and the council, that we stand by the promises we make for retirees and follow the letter of the law as best we can. These are scary, tough times, and yesterday's battle in Congress is, probably not the end of people fighting over health care, but ideally there will come a time when everyone gets insurance and everyone is treated fairly and equally. Madam Clerk, let's go to the next item.
We are on to consent agenda. Your Honor, item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held March 8th. Item B, approval to adopt a resolution recognizing Detroit Together Performing Arts Incorporated as a nonprofit organization operating in the city of Ferndale. Item C, approval to adopt ordinance number 1088 to repeal sections 227 through 246, partition fences of Chapter 6 of the Ferndale Code of Ordinances. Item D, approval to fill the budgeted and vacant part-time contractual electrical inspector position in the Community Development Department. Item E, approval to enter into a grant agreement between the Michigan Department of State and the City of Ferndale for qualified photophiles, electronic poll book, laptop, and accessories purchase. Excuse me. Item F, approval to adopt a resolution authorizing Councilmember Piana to attend the Michigan Municipal League's Capital Conference on April 14th. Item G, approval of emergency repairs of the DPW's Beet Juice / brine tank for $3,483 by Rhodes Welding Company, Inc. of Ferndale, and to charge the expense to the Vehicle and Equipment Fund, repair and maintenance, account number listed. And finally, item H, approval of the bills and payrolls as certified by the city manager to be paid subject to review of the Council of Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Which items would folks like to pull for further discussion or consideration? None? Or in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Item F, as in Frank, is being pulled. And then is there a motion to adopt the other items A through H?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilwoman Baker. Seconded by Support Galloway to adopt A through H agenda with F pulled. Madam Clerk.
And that was motion by Baker and support by Galloway. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Council members Galloway.
Yes.
Lennon is absent from the table. Piana.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
And Mayor Covey.
Yes, passes, Madam Clerk. Next item, 8A of the regular agenda.
Yes, and that is consideration of the contract with Michigan Outdoor Services and Construction Incorporated for the 2009 sidewalk replacement program.
Since Mr. Fotiades is sitting quietly back there, is that something you will introduce?
No, I'd invite Mr. Fotiades forward to introduce
Oh,
that.
all right.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the sidewalk replacement program that the council approved in 2009. It is from, and what you have before you is the contract now between the city and the contractor to replace almost 26,000 square feet of 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch sidewalk, basically 8 mile to Alberta, Woodward to Farmdale. And we're asking council approval of that contract.
Thank you, Byron.
But also, that contract also includes replacing about 80 handicap ramps throughout the city, which is about 30% of the contract itself.
This is the project that we opted to postponed for half of a year because of the economy last summer?
That's correct.
And is this just that same section of town? Are we going to look at the next section of town this year also?
We
Or do we
intend
move
to.
them all back a year?
Well, everything has been moved back a year.
Okay.
So, and we presented for the 2010 program, that is part of the budget presented to council. So if you want to make a decision as part of the budget process, you know, obviously that's your choice. This here is for the 2009
Thank you.
program.
Questions for Mr. Potidis?
I would move that we approve the contract by and between Michigan Outdoor Services and Construction, Inc., Hazel Park for the 2009 sidewalk replacement program, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the contract.
Support.
That motion was made and seconded, Galloway Piana, and obviously, even though it's called the 2009 replacement program, it's taking place this year. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Council members Lennon?
Yes.
Piana? Yes. Baker? Yes. Galloway?
Yes.
Mayor Covey?
Yes as well, unanimous consent. Madam Clerk, item B.
Regular agenda item B, consideration of the letters of understanding between the City of Ferndale and AFSCME Local 998, the Firefighters Association, and AFSCME Local 1917.
Thank you. Mr. Bruner.
Thanks, Your Honor. The city's unions were provided with copies of this letter of understanding back in February. As you may recall, the council approved letters of understanding between the Police Officers Association as well as our Public Works laborers. Last month, presented for your consideration tonight, are 3 letters of understanding between the city and AFSCME Local 998, which is our clerical and technical employees, Ferndale Firefighters Association, as well as AFSCME Local 1917, which are our Public Works supervisors.
All right, so this is just another acceptance of...
Yes, this letter of agreement allows the city to provide members of these unions with the voluntary separation incentive program, which offers incentives for both early retirements and voluntary separations.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Are there requests for information? I would ask one, that the dates on these for retirement are coming up fast, April, correct?
Yes.
The various dates that people need to keep in mind.
Yes, the employees who want to retire or separate under the VSIP have to sign a release agreement during the second week in April, and they have 7 days after signing that release agreement to revoke it. And then everyone who agrees to retire or separate from the city under the VSIP must do so no later than April 30th.
Thank you. Are there questions for the city manager from the table? All right.
I would move that we approve the letters of understanding between the City of Ferndale and AFSCME Local 998, dated March 10, 2010, and the Firefighters Association, dated Wednesday, March 10, 2010, and AFSCME Local 1917, dated March 12, 2010.
Support.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded, Galloway and Baker. In discussion, I just want to appreciate the firefighters making this decision to move forward, and I also appreciated their comments in the newspaper this past week, joining us as team members to try to deal with this budget crisis. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Council members Piana? Yes. Baker? Yes. Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Mayor Covey?
Yes, passes unanimously. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Regular agenda item C, consideration of fiscal year ending 2011 council goals and objectives.
Mr. Brunner.
Thanks, Your Honor. As you'll recall, the City Council, City Manager, and Department Heads participated in a strategic planning retreat back in December. The City Council received the facilitator's final report and draft goals in January. At that time, the Council directed the City Clerk, the Police Chief, and Fire Chief to provide recommendations to me so that I could prepare this revised goals statement. I won't go over it in great detail tonight, but for the benefits of the folks at home and the folks in the audience, it includes 5 goals, major goals, the first one being achieving fiscal sustainability. Number 2, develop and implement comprehensive technology plan. Number 3, develop and implement an external communication plan. And number 4, implement infrastructure spending responsibly. And number 5, develop and implement an economic development plan. What you have before you tonight are the specific objectives underneath each goal, and then some thoughts and recommendations from me on how to achieve those goals and objectives. At this point, the council need only receive the revised goal statement, and my advice is to keep it with you throughout the budget process so that the council can decide which of these goals is actually feasible in the coming year, given the city's budget constraints. Some of these goals and objectives will require allocating resources to achieve them, and you have my advice there on which ones the city can achieve internally or which one will require additional resources. So you can make those spending decisions during the budget process and then adopt the final goal statement along with the budget in the first week in May.
Okay. Requests for information.
I would move that we receive the revised FYE 2011 goals statement.
Okay, the motion was made and seconded by Galloway and Baker. These are and the motion is to receive them. So if we have questions, problems, or issues with any of them, you suggest it's best just to hold off.
Well, we can certainly discuss any ideas that you have now or during the budget process as these issues come up within specific departments. We can delve into them in more detail then, whichever the council prefers.
Through the chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I think these need a little bit more work based off of some of the changes that are going to be coming down with the budget and realigning them. And probably strengthening a few. We know that we have to improve some technology. We're wasting money or spending too much money with our technology in the city, and so I think we just need to get more specific about how to solve those problems as part of the goal statements. So I think these need more revision, and I'm open to working on them throughout the next 3 months as part of the budget process so that we can tailor them to where we need to go forward.
Thank you, Councilwoman, Council Member Piana. I just didn't feel real comfortable, even though we're just receiving them, and maybe it's just a different way of thinking. But for example, Mr. Brenner, you mentioned that one of our goals was to improve website functionality and implement external communications plan. However, we don't have the capacity to develop a strategic. We must allocate resources. You know, even in a tight budget, I mean, there are always things you can do. There are always improvements you can make. When it talks about the council postponed the decision regarding the municipal building project, you say that not making a decision to proceed is the same as making a decision not to proceed. But I don't agree with that. I guess we have postponed it, which means that we still could consider in May or June or any other time. And the parking plan about the city council will consider selling or leasing the parking system to the DDA. Even though we may discuss that, I agree with Councilwoman Piana. I would rather table this or not take action and see if it can't tweak it. And my problem with receiving is that it makes it seem like it's there, it's official, this is what we're working from, and I just think it's awfully thin. And if we don't make some of these decisions based on money or whatever, then does that mean that we have no strategic plans?
Well, you won't have a strategic goal statement until you affirmatively adopt one and say this is it. Right now, what you've done is you've asked staff for input on how to achieve these goals and objectives. Staff has provided that input. I agree there is certainly a lot more meat that could be put on this bone, and I envision the budget process as the time when that would happen, when we could have those more specific conversations as we go along, so that hopefully at the end of that process we'll have something that the council is comfortable affirming.
I appreciate that. Because, again, the title of this item is 2011 Goals and Objectives, and yet the document to me is just awfully thin, like you said, needs more meat. So what's the pleasure of council?
I guess as I looked at this, I was thinking of it the same way as the city manager, that this is receipt so that we can study it and flesh it out and as part of our budget talks, adopt something, just like we received the budget some time ago. That's not the budget we're going to adopt. I don't know what harm it does in receiving it. They're not the stated, adopted, approved goals of the city. I think those will probably come as part of the budget process. So I don't have any problem receiving it, like we've received so many documents.
I have no problem receiving it. I just want to make sure that the outcome that we're really looking for is some more meat on the bone, as the city manager has said, and that we have an opportunity to do that. So
I think we probably are all agreeing with each other in one way or the other that this is a start. But I would want to look back on 2011 and say that we probably accomplished a lot more than these 4 or 5 items. So, any other discussion on the topic? Mr. Councilman?
No, just receiving them is fine. I mean, everything's going to get fine-tuned.
Then, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Council members Baker? Yes. Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Piana? Yes. Mayor Covey?
Yes, as well. Are we back to the pulled item F, Madam Clerk?
We are indeed, Your Honor.
And it was pulled by Ms. Pasinski. However, let's have it introduced by either Mr. Bruner or Councilwoman Piana.
Actually, I submitted it, Your Honor, so.
How about City
Would you
Clerk?
like to speak to it? Sure. Okay. I applied for some reimbursement on a training that I would like to attend on behalf of the City of Ferndale through the Michigan Municipal League, which is the 2010 Capital Conference. This is an annual conference every year over a 2-day period, and it's an opportunity for cities to network with their legislators as well as departments within the state of Michigan so that your voice is heard. It's also a time to learn about what's happening at the state level in terms of reforms and how it will affect your community. I plan on going for one of those days. So I think it's a great opportunity for me to represent the city of Ferndale, and I hope to bring back quite a few things that I can share with the city. Just to let you know what there will be taking place is some of the sessions are on tax reform, what Michigan needs to do needs to be competitive in the new economy, your complete streets, which is something I'll talk about in call to audience, and also Public Act 312, which is binding arbitration for police and fire, and also what's going on with our transportation funding. A lot of people may not be aware that the city or the state of Michigan is actually disinvesting in our infrastructure, and we're about to lay $475 million on the table because we don't have enough transportation tax to actually pay for our infrastructure needs. So these are the reasons why I'm going, and I think it will be very beneficial.
Sure. You've already paid the registration. You're just looking for reimbursement. How much was that?
No more than $200, maximum of $200, Your Honor.
It was $135 just for registration.
Sure, $135. And you're looking to go for one day?
Yes, and I hope to carpool up there.
Stay the night?
No, it's just there and back.
Oh, okay.
And I also noticed that this city council training and education budget is under budget this year by $13,000.
All right. Ms. Basinski, what would you like to add or
Okay,
share?
well, I've had a few of my questions answered. I would like to say that most of the cities surrounding us have totally cut travel. Doesn't matter where it is. I think we should adopt that. The educational opportunities are great, but with our technology, I don't think you necessarily need to travel. And every drop in the bucket helps to fill that bucket up, and some drops could be used for other things. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
I would like to mention that I went to a training last month for newly elected officials, and I paid out of pocket my $100 hotel fee, and I also carpooled with a council member from the city of Berkeley. So I do everything possible to reduce the cost to the city, and that's just my nature. So
Appreciate that, Councilwoman.
I would move that we adopt a resolution authorizing Councilwoman Piana to attend the MML Capital Conference on April 14th, 2010.
Support.
Motion made, seconded, Galloway and Baker. I would concur that this is, I actually appreciate the councilwoman going to this. It's a lot of work. She's driving up and back in one day. And just so folks know, the council has voluntarily ceased all out-of-state travel. So instead of 3 or 4 of us going to San Antonio or Denver or Washington, D.C., it looks like maybe none of us are going out of state this year. Madam, any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Council members Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Baker? Yes. And Mayor Covey.
Yes, as well. That passes. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We have, Your Honor, council liaison reports, if any.
Mr. Brunner, you first. Anything on those groups?
I do not have any tonight, Your Honor.
Let me ask, the Michigan Suburbs Alliance sent me a notice. They're looking, I think, for some information from the cities regarding, was it energy usage?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there some form that they want filled out, or may I
I didn't
ask?
get a form either.
You didn't get the
It
form
referred
either?
to a form in there.
Yeah, I will check with Mr. Offen, the Energy Programs Coordinator, and make sure that we get those forms if we have not already.
Appreciate
Thank you for
that.
bringing that to my attention. I'll let them know.
And Councilwoman, do you mind, I mean, you work, we all work, and you work or you work for the Michigan Suburbs Alliance. Do you mind if we ask you questions and refer to you?
No, not at all. Just know that I may not know all the details. I'm loosely affiliated with the Regional Energy Office that is, and we have a new director who just started 3 weeks ago. Right. So.
I think they sent the city letters asking for some information and referencing a form which wasn't inside the envelope. But maybe it came by email, and that would have saved energy and money. What about the other items on there? Anything else? Woodward Avenue Action?
The 8 Mile Boulevard Association annual luncheon invitation just came out. I meant to bring it with me, but did not. We've attended in the past. It's not necessarily something I can do given my work schedule this year.
I think Mr. Brunner and I went to that one year, did we? Was that you?
Yep. Free? No, it's not free,
No.
but we just got the invitation in the mail, so I will be forwarding that to council
All right,
shortly.
I get that too. We can check the dates, but if it's an expensive ticket, isn't it?
Well, it's, I don't recall
All right.
how much it is.
I just wanted to mention that I might be going on behalf of the Michigan Suburbs Alliance,
Oh.
so I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's a very important, you do meet and see a lot of important people at that event, and you get to hear all the county executives and the mayor speak, so it's pretty valuable. If there's no other items on council liaison reports, then are we to call to council?
We are indeed, Your Honor.
All right, Chief Schmidt from the Ferndale Fire Department, anything you want to share?
Thank you, Your Honor. As I try to do every March, bring a little attention to Severe Weather Awareness Week. Governor Granholm and Oakland County Executive L. Brooks Patterson have declared the week of April 11th through April 17th as Severe Weather Awareness Week. The most significant thing about that is that normally they test the tornado sirens on the first Saturday of the month, but in April they will not test it on the first Saturday, but instead they will test it on Wednesday, April 14th at 1 o'clock. So that usually throws a few people off, but that is to heighten awareness of Severe Weather Awareness Week. And as I do every year, we put a supply of pamphlets at both fire stations for anyone that would like more information on the subject. And I believe Shirley here at City Hall put some out as well. Any questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Kitchen, anything you'd like to share, sir?
Thank you, Your Honor. Sometimes trying times bring out nice responses, and I just want to shout out to everyone out there for all the nice comments and cards and phone calls I'm getting in support of the police department. And I try to acknowledge all of them, but I don't think I'm going to get to all of them. But for everyone sending letters and making phone calls, I appreciate it. And 35 years ago, Your Honor, I was in the police academy, and I also got married on that day. So if my wife's not watching Dancing with the Stars, happy anniversary, Mary.
Happy anniversary. Very nice. Byron Fotides, anything from the Department of Public Works? Are we able to put out the green and vegetable material yet, or we hold off on leaves and stuff?
Oh, that will come out. That's always the first Monday in April.
So wait till April.
It's always the first Monday in April.
Very good, sir. I appreciate it. Mr. Shahan, Firefighters Union, anything you want to say? I guess that's a yes.
Does he have a time limit?
You got 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I don't have time for 1 minute.
Oh, yes, you do.
Give me a few, I can.
Give you a couple.
All right. Patrick Sheehan, Ferndale Firefighters, Local 812. Just up here tonight in regards to recent comments and coin phrases that have been used in the last month or two of council meetings and have been used in newspapers also. And I guess I just want to try and discuss them a little bit with you here. First one is the Fire Police Pension Fund is being mentioned and demonized as a cause for the city's financial hardships and its projected deficit. The Police Fire Pension Fund is no more of a cause than any other operating cost to the city. Second of all, it's a projected deficit right now, and it's also a projected contribution that's going to have to be made into the pension fund. There has not been an actuarial done up to date, and there's a lot of factors in there that need to be brought out. The city has had to pay into the pension fund once in the last 10 years, and you know, like anything, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's two sides to every story, and I would just be respectfully requesting that we try and not continue to bash it in the paper unless I can come up here at an open meeting and I can defend our side, because there's two sides to every story, and I'm just respectfully requesting that we stop doing that, because we're supposed to be negotiating in closed meetings. Second thing is I've been hearing comments of legacy costs for retiree health care, and again, it was brought up again tonight. The only question I have to all of you is, what kind of legacy costs do the fire and police officers, do they accrue over their career as far as exposures and injuries that they get in their career, doing their job and doing as hard as they can? And I can only speak on behalf of the fire department. I'm proud to speak for the police, but on behalf of the firefighters, in the last 10 years, we've lost 3 firefighters to cancer at young ages. They were retired, but they died of cancer at young ages. Those are our legacy costs, and I understand that there's cost to it. And again, we will try and do on our side whatever we can to help solve the problems with health care. But again, there are legacy costs on both sides, and I just want to make sure everybody appreciates that at least. Next thing was I've been hearing a lot of do more with less, and I guess I would just politely ask is what do you think we've been doing? And I don't want to do this tonight, but I have no problem speaking and telling you guys if you have forgotten about everything that the fire department has done to make things become better in the city, and the moves we've made on our end to help the city maintain its fiscal abilities and its fiscal stabilities. And again, I don't want to put them all out right now, but I believe that if we explain these to you, you would understand. The next question is, we're hearing a lot of the unions need to negotiate a contract with concessions to help remedy these projected deficit problems. And again, I guess I would ask is, don't you mean more concessions? We need to give more things, because doing more with less is a concession, and we've taken on more responsibilities over this time. At least acknowledge our efforts publicly. And then the next question is, when we talk about we're looking to get negotiations and concessions from the unions in this town, I can only speak for the fire department, but, you know, I'm hearing you need negotiations with concessions, and I'm also hearing that I'm watching it, and you're directing the chief to move forward with consolidation efforts. And I guess my question to all of you is, what kind of contract do you want us to negotiate? Because there's a lot of open-ended deals right now going on. There's a lot of things that are in flux. And I appreciate all the responsibilities and the hard decisions that all of you have to make. And all of our firefighters feel that way. And basically, that's why we're kind of just sitting back and seeing what we can do to help, and we'll continue to try and talk. But to just keep throwing them out at the open meetings makes it a little difficult to instill a good faith. And that is what collective bargaining is all about. Mrs. Piana, you're going to learn about 312 and collective bargaining, and that is what it is all about. And the only thing I can tell you from this point is I do believe the fire and the police can come to solutions with everybody, and I believe that it can be done with a lot of hard work and good faith, and I have confidence that it will happen. It's just that everybody has to work together right now.
Very good, sir.
Thank you.
Very well put. Thank you. Julie Hall, Recreation Department, Kulik Center.
Mayor, Council, as one of our residents mentioned, we do have our extravaganza egg hunt this weekend on Saturday at 10 a.m. at Martin Road Park. There is a $3 per child charge, but we have partnered with Operation Kitty Quip, who's providing the first 200 kids who pre-register with a basket full of candy and a book. So you can register online at ferndalerecreation.org or stop by our office to register. And it's supposed to be 52 degrees, so it should be a nice day for your family out at the park. Thanks.
Very good. Thanks, Julie. Sherilyn, anything, Tallman from the clerk's office?
Just a quick thank you to council for participating in the HAVA grant program for our electronic poll books. It's exciting to be putting forth technology that's going to save us money in administering elections.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Bruner.
Yes, thanks, Your Honor. Mark your calendar, ladies and gentlemen, because today, Monday, March 22nd, City Manager Robert J. Bruner Jr. is going to agree with the President of the Ferndale Firefighters Association. The time for doing less with more has passed. This year, nearly every resident, every taxpayer in this city is going to pay less property taxes than we did last year. I'm going to pay $185 less in just the general fund portion of my property tax bill. And this is a challenge that nobody up here wishes to deal with, but it is the responsibility of the public offices that we hold. Tonight I heard a couple comments, people urging us to come up with another plan or look at other solutions. My plan has been online for several weeks now on the city's website. We created a new we've always had the city's budget and financial statements online. We've added additional information, additional data to the city's website about this year's budget deliberation. So I invite anyone who thinks they have a better idea to look at the numbers and send their solutions or their plans to me or any member of the city council, because I'm sure that all of us up here are all ears. Nobody wants to cut the city's workforce by a third. It's going to make everyone else's job more difficult. But these are the financial realities that we face, and this body is going to have to make some tough choices in that regard. So I urge folks to go online, look at the budgets, look at the budget requests. There's more data that's going to be posted online as we go along throughout this process. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the folks that have come to the budget meetings. We've had more members of the public, more employees attend the 1 or 2 budget meetings we've had this year than the 3 previous budget processes since I've been city manager. So I'm very encouraged to see the public input and the public participation, as well as the participation from our employees.
Thank you. And we have a budget meeting coming this Wednesday, correct?
Yes, this Wednesday night, we're going to discuss central services, which is a part of the budget that hasn't gotten a lot of attention in the past, as well as the fringe benefit pool, which is literally where the bodies are buried.
Fringe benefit pool, the bodies are buried. All right. Well, that'll be a meeting no one will want to miss. And
did I say I meant figuratively. I'm sorry, I can't let misuse of the word literal go like that.
City Attorney Dan Christ.
Very briefly, council, I believe, is aware of an elderly resident who has filed a claim in the Court of Appeals regarding a tax tribunal decision which resulted in the uncapping of her property. I just wanted the council to be aware. City managers asked that I take a look at that as to whether there's any options that may be explored to provide her some relief with respect to the purported mistake that took place that she's alleging regarding that uncapping.
We appreciate you doing that, and we know you'll do whatever the right thing is, Mr. Christ. Councilwoman Piana?
Yes, I have a few things. First, I want to remind everybody that Senator Gilda Jacobs and Representative Ellen Kogan-Lipton are having a town hall this Thursday, starting at 6:30 at the Pleasant Ridge Community Center on Michigan's tax structure. You may have heard us talk up here before that our tax structure is broken in Michigan, and we really need some new ideas about how we build our state going forward. So I really encourage you to go. I will be attending, so if you want an opportunity to talk to me about city issues, please come and talk to me. I also want to mention I am now a city representative on the Michigan Municipal League's Transit Policy Committee. The league has quite a few committees that elected officials can get involved in, and I have chosen transportation. And my first meeting was this past week, and on the agenda was a complete streets policy. And I also wanted to mention, and just came out of the blue, I also got an email from a Ferndale resident asking the city of Ferndale to adopt a complete street policy. So two different things happening at the same time with no connection. And I wanted to let everybody know what is Complete Streets. It's been a coalition nonprofit for the last few years encouraging cities to integrate non-motorized transit into their communities. And this is big because the Federal Department of Transportation has just changed their policy. And their new policy ends the favoring of motorized transportation at the expense of non-motorized transportation. And it calls for full inclusion of bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit riders of all ages and abilities in transportation projects. This means that we need to incorporate this type of planning into our planning for the city and the region, because we are mostly motorized here and not non-motorized. So what I would like to, what I've been doing is I've asked a few planning commission members to look at the Complete Streets, and I've asked Marcia to investigate what policies does the city of Ferndale already have in place that align with Complete Streets and which ones that we don't have aligned, because we have been very progressive. And that really includes a non-motorized plan. And I really believe that not in the next 3 months as we do our budgets, but going forward, grants, we will be more eligible for grants and money to bring into the city of Ferndale to do infrastructure improvement projects if we have this type of policy in place. What the federal government and the state government do is allocate points to grant applications. So the more points you have, the more likely you will get that grant award. So I think this is a great thing to do, and I'm going to be working with the Planning Commission and the CDS Department and the Parks and Rec Department and hopefully DPW, because they're the ones who implement the infrastructure projects in the city of Ferndale. And then I wanted to follow up on Mr. Roan's comment about the cigarette butts in front of the police or the bus stops, and just wanted to throw it out there. Don't have a solution for it now, but I do know states that went into a non-smoking ban, there was increased cigarette butts in front of businesses that allowed smoking. And I know that this has been a problem for cities that have adopted this statewide policy. So I hope that we can have a conversation with our businesses and include the bus stops as how do we solve that problem so that we don't have cigarette butts all over our sidewalks. That is it.
Well done. That's plenty. Councilman Galloway.
Just a couple comments. Several folks, again, raised concerns about the budget and indicated that, there's something that we know that we can balance the budget without cutting public safety jobs. And I certainly encourage folks, if they know it, to bring those ideas forward, how we can cut $3.5 million out of the budget and not touch the police or fire budgets. If there's some way to do it, I'm sure we would entertain it, listen to it, and try to implement it. But I don't think that's a possibility, unfortunately. It was also brought up at some point that people have been bashing the police and fire pension fund. I don't really know what that refers to, Pat. I think the challenge that it presents when it gets brought up is that the city council holds that commitment as inviolate. We're going to fund the police and fire pension board, and the fact that we have to, after years of not having to, is one more strain on the budget, just like keeping the lights on here, or paying for police cars, or water services. So it's a fact of life. We're going to pay it. No one's thinking about not honoring that commitment. But to say that it's not another factor in the budget process is also not accurate. It's one more big cost that we have. So that police and fire pension fund is going to be funded with whatever it takes, and we'll balance the budget around that. Come up with ideas. We have meetings every Wednesday from here through the end of the budget, and if people have ideas on how we can balance the budget that we haven't thought about, that's an opportunity to participate in the process. So I look forward to citizen participation.
Very good, Councilman. Councilman Lennon?
Just briefly, Your Honor, you heard me speak earlier to Mr. Bruner, and my voice got a little loud because it's a very sensitive issue. However, I know we talked earlier today, and I just wasn't happy with the sequence of events that went down and how this all transpired. I assure the retirees out there that I will be meeting with Mr. Bruner this week and maybe have some answers for you on what's transpired in that issue. The other one is the brain drain I'm seeing in this confidential memo that I can't really elaborate on because it's still confidential. But if these people that turned in their VSIP hold true to them, I don't know how we're going to be able to function because every top administrator in every department is going to want to leave. So I think we're going to have to work on this. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it during our budget hearing.
Concerns me too.
Pardon me?
It concerns me too.
Yeah, this is a
and
major brain drain.
We'll have to come up with some creative solutions.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely. Councilman, thank you for that.
I just want to thank the Ferndale Elks for that nice event they put on for Kate and I. Well, not for us.
They didn't put it on for us.
No, they put it on for us. So we attended.
Put it on for the Marines.
And for the Marines, sure. Very good. Mayor Pro Tem?
The thing that I thought was most special about that event, and you attended the send-off, Mayor, a year ago, was that every single Marine that they sent off came back. And
that's the best part.
So just, again, a thank you. It's unbelievable that they're all home safe. So just to add to what the city manager said about public participation in the budget process, as we've identified in one of our goals for this fiscal year and next, we realize that our city technology is not necessarily as good as it could be. But we are working with what we've got. The city clerk and the cable department have made some great advances in posting our council agendas as well as video streaming our council meetings. Once the meeting is finished, that video is then also posted online, and you can go through agenda item by agenda item and look at that video at what comments were made and what votes were taken. What you can also see is the city manager's budget presentation, which was made, I believe, on March the 8th. And not only is it part of that, the paper version, sort of the PowerPoint version, if you will, is part of what says fiscal year 2010-2011 budget process, click here, right on our homepage. But if you go then to the city council meeting videos, agendas, and minutes on our homepage, you can see and hear that presentation. So I always find that something's lacking a little bit if I look through a presentation after the fact and I don't get the commentary, but the commentary is right there. It's posted on the internet. It's replayed on WFRN as well, but you kind of have to sit through the whole meeting. This way you can click exactly to where you want to be. The city clerk and our cable department have done a great job in streamlining that for the public. So again, just www.ferndale-mi.com to take a look at what our budget situation is and help us come up with ideas, real ideas that can address this. We are moving forward as best as we can.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just have one item, then we're going to go into executive session. But of all the news in the week, all the serious issues in healthcare and taxes and budget cuts, what did I read in the headlines the other day? But was our governor excoriated by the county executive for her daring to proclaim a meatless day in Michigan. Governor Granholm did a proclamation declaring last Saturday, Meatless Saturday. Her thoughts were to promote one day of the year where we would eat healthier, that we could save money, that we could help save the earth, and eat a healthier diet of grains, fruits, and vegetables. Pretty basic, simple proclamation. We do these proclamations all the time. We had a presentation on closed head injuries. We declared Gay Pride Month and all sorts of other holidays. But
we declared Meat-Free Day.
We not only have declared Meat-Free Day, but last year we declared a Vegetarian Week in Ferndale, and we'll be doing that again in 2 weeks. It's coming up on the agenda. We'll have a presentation. But again, I just thought, I'm doing this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but of all the issues to fight about, and since health care is part of the main question, we had a battle between our county executive and our governor over whether to have a meatless Saturday. And he said in the paper he was taking his grandkids to Burger King. So there you go. There's the battle of the century. Buy the meat from Brazil. The public section of the meeting is now closing, but we need a motion to go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to Section 8 of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.2.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second? By Baker. Motion to go into closed session. Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
You bet. Council members Lennon? Yes. Piana? Yes. Baker? Yes. Galloway? Yes. And Mayor Covey?
Yes, as well. Thank you.
We're going to take 5 or 2?
Let's take 5.